This is everybody's worst nightmare.
I was in the gym and I didn't know it was real, and like I heard the sirens and everything, and like towards the end of it, like I heard screaming.
Just multiple gunshots, rapid fires, and like 2 times, maybe like 2 rounds. Like it was just constant, and it just didn't stop.
A devastating account from students in the aftermath of yesterday's deadly school shooting in Georgia. Naturally, families are on edge all over the country as the fall semester gets underway. So here with some advice on managing fear as well as anxiety is clinical psychologist Dr. Amber Thornton. Dr. Thornton, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Yeah, before we get to some of your recommendations, lots of heavy hearts all over the country, students and parents and guardians alike. What's your message to all of us who are struggling?
Well, first, I do just want to say this is, a terrible thing to happen. And I know that hearing about school shootings can bring on a lot of anxiety and fear, particularly when we are sending our children back to school. Schools are now in session. And so I think the first thing that I think it's important to know is, for children who might be experiencing some anxiety around school shootings, one, we have to acknowledge the reality. Kids today are very savvy. They know what's going on. So we don't want to dismiss or not acknowledge what's truly happening. We want to give them information in ways that are developmentally appropriate, but then also with that, we want to really validate any and all concerns they have, whether it is fear, whether it is anxiety, whether it is about their safety. We need to be listening to them to really understand how we can better support them.
In terms of validating those concerns, because it could be today, but it could go into next week and beyond, what are some steps and some resources that are available to help out with that?
Absolutely. With validation, and I talk about this often because it's one of the biggest ways that we can support youth in our life, but then also people in general. The biggest goal is to listen. We don't want to try to solve the problem necessarily. We really want to listen and listen for the feelings, but then also the worries that might be happening for someone. So really just taking the time to stop, pause, and listen to any and all the things that your child or your teenager has to say about this. With that, during this time, it can also be helpful to think about how might I work with my child or my teenager to maybe minimize or limit some media exposure. That also will bring about more opportunities to talk about what's going on, but also can help to ease some of the anxiety and the stress, because of course, the more that we are exposed to images or information about a school shooting, the more anxious or worried we might feel. So listen, but then also put up some safety measures around, okay, how much are we being exposed to this story or stories like this that might be taking away from our opportunity to really provide support.
But do you also advise parents and their students to learn more about safety measures that are in place at schools? Because sometimes that can maybe put some of that anxiety to ease.
Absolutely. So the big thing about fear and anxiety is that it needs somewhere to go. And sometimes with that, action can be so helpful. So one thing that can put a family or a child at ease is to know, okay, well, what are the safety measures at my school? If something like this does happen, and we all hope and pray that nothing does happen, but if something does happen, what are the safety measures that I should be aware of, that the family should be aware of? Can we talk to the school about preparing or providing more information about these safety measures? That can help reassure a student or a family that measures are being taken, but then also engage in advocacy. Sometimes when children, especially teenagers, are aware around advocacy and how to advocate for safer schools or policy that might help protect them, that also can give them a space to be more active and feel more encouraged.
And that's all part of acknowledging that reality that you talked about off the top, and your Parent's Guide to Self-Regulation is also a good resource. Dr. Amber Thornton, thank you so much for your expertise. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
We have much more on the way here on Good Day DC.